and what we believe are the most important things to consider when creating a class for this age group. We are Michael and Dan. The first theory we're here to expel is that, oh my god, teenagers are the worst. A lot of people think that it can be hard to maintain their attention, keep them engaged, and walk away retaining any knowledge. But if done correctly, this is not the case.
The goals aren't as clear as adults, and the motivations can be less strong. Their interests are also different than adults, and you might find that their attention span is wandering to other things outside of the class, what are they going to do later or at the weekend, or what their friends are doing, for example. So some of the aims that we're going to discuss in this presentation is how to capture the attention of students of teenage age, and how to retain that attention, how to bring out a passion for learning in them and help them to enjoy the lesson while you're teaching effectively.
It goes without saying that the demographic of teenagers is 13 to 19, currently learning to speak English, but notice we didn't say whether or not they actually want to. One of the most important things in defining teens is their interests. But with such big changes happening between the ages of 13 and 19, it's nearly impossible to group them in one category, so why try? Having spoken to some of the current students, here are some of the things they are interested in. Here is a slide. We have football, we have trap music, we have Harry Potter, we have maths puzzles, we have ancient Rome, Ed Sheeran, and even the Olympics. So some of these things are not that surprising, but some, well, they surprised me. So it also shows the full extent of their interests. If we want to capture the students' imagination and attention, being able to incorporate all, or at least some, of these topics is important for creating the class. My first suggestion when teaching teens is to optimize the first class by using it as a chance to get to know the student. Don't go in and try and teach straight away. Instead, use it as a way of discovering what they are interested in. With this information, you can take it away and build activities around it for future classes. You are also asking the student for their opinion, validating them, and strengthening your bond with them. My first suggestion when teaching teens is to optimize the first class by using it as a chance. When you're creating activities, be sure to incorporate a variety of visual aids like YouTube clips, magazines, or realia that will engage the student. Also be sure to keep the topic current. If something was relevant 2 to 3 years ago, like a movie trailer, it won't be that interesting to students now. So here is one activity that I created the other day. This is for International Women's Day. You can see the objective is for the students to learn how to narrate the story, in this case someone else's. So we've got the introduction, which is besides your birthday, which days do you celebrate during the year? The first activity is a reading, which is about International Women's Day and specifically the first female protest in Spain. From there, we go to a YouTube clip, which you can see a little bit of here. And it talks about how Mattel are creating new inspiring Barbies inspired by 3 women like Amelia Earhart and Frida Kahlo. It talks a bit about why they are choosing them. And then from this video, this also leads into our next activity, which is asking students who they think Mattel should create Barbie for, but also which other minority do you think deserves a special day of recognition. You can go on to see here the wrap-up, which includes words like slogan and taking part in a protest, and then also you've got the target language here as well. Next, we have one of the key factors of teaching teens is giving them the power and making them feel like they have more of a say in what you say, rather than just being told, today we're doing this. So why not go with a range of topics and say, okay, your choice, tell me what you would like to discuss. Here's another activity I've just created about Taylor Swift and plagiarism. You've got a reading to begin the activity, and then we go in and we watch part of Taylor Swift's music video. You can see here some of the faces that she's pulling, which they're saying was copying the Kenzo ad, which is from 2 years ago. But anyway, you can watch that another time. And then at the end, the debate is you split the class into two teams, and you have one saying that Taylor Swift is ripping off the Kenzo ad, and the other one is saying that she is not. So from there, Dan is now going to discuss how best to ensure that the student remains engaged and walks away with a better understanding of the language.
Yes, one of the main points is to be creative in your approach. As Michael was saying just now, what he will do at first is ask the student what their interests are, what they want to talk about and discuss in the lesson. So therefore, as a teacher, you need to be able to adapt and to improvise and be able to come up with material based around the student's interests. You also need to engage the creativity of the student. This will be far more engaging for the student, and they will learn more of the language if they are having an active participatory input into the class and they're not passively answering questions or just having material or information pushed at them rather than coming up with their own material or their own answers, for example. Also, it pays to be light-hearted or humorous or personable and friendly in your approach and your behaviour when you're speaking to students. If you can make people smile or laugh, then it makes them like you, and if they like you, then they'll want to listen to what you say. They'll care and they'll value in the information that you're giving them. However, there is a line between being funny and being weird or being lame, and as teenagers, if you cross that line, will recognise it very, very easily. So be careful not to make any dad jokes or anything like that, because you will lose respect. Also, an important thing to remember is to have structured exercises. Sometimes it might feel that this is a very hard task to overcome, especially when you're trying to teach grammar. It's not the most exciting of subjects, as everyone well knows. And often a lot of the exercises or activities can be quite structured or formal. And I found from personal experience this is boring for the teenagers. But it doesn't mean to say that there is no way to teach grammar. For example, you could introduce a grammar rule, and you could then include that as practice through other games or other activities related to other topics. So you're practicing both vocabulary and grammar rule at the same time, for example. Also, be sure to ask their opinion. Everybody feels valued when you feel like the voice is being heard, and teenagers are no different. And you'll find that a lot of them have very strong opinions when it comes to certain topics. So if you can find these topics and hone in on it and get them to focus on the things that they value, the things that they care about, the things that they know about, then they'll feel more free to talk, and obviously more talking is better for them to practice. So, to sum up.
To conclude, the most important things to consider when teaching teens is to always make them feel included and to validate their opinion. Also, the material should be relevant, current, and of interest.
Yes, and also remember to be creative in your approach, to bring out the creativity of the student, to be personal, humorous, and more conversational. In general, just less formal. I feel that students, they probably come to these lessons after being at school all day, and you don't want to provide another school-like lesson on top of that. You want it to have a different change of pace, a different tone, or a different atmosphere, and that will help them to relax more and be more engaged.
So we'd like to ask if there are any questions. Please get in touch and let us know.
Any questions?
So if there are any questions out there, let us know.
I would say, I would say, I would say both. I don't like the idea of a serious topic being taboo, and being, because it's serious, therefore you shouldn't really talk about it.
So Maria was asking, do you suggest serious or more light-hearted topics with teenagers? Sorry.
Yeah, as I say, a mixture of both. Maybe a mix of both together in the same class could be useful.
I think it depends on the student as well, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, obviously like you're saying, so it depends what they're interested in.
Yeah. I think from that first class, well, which isn't really a class, it's more of a meeting, you can gauge whether the student is going to be more of a serious or a more light-hearted kind of student, and you can take it from there. Okay, so the next question is, what do you suggest in case students are not engaged at all in a topic?
Well, I've had this in my previous classes before, and it can be a difficult thing to overcome if you're asking questions and the response you're getting is, I don't know, or I don't really mind, or whatever. So one way that you can stimulate more debate or more talk is have an argument or a debate. Say, for example, using the activity of International Women's Day, you could have some debate where you have two different sides and say to the student, okay, you have this side, this is what you think. You assign an opinion, and then as the teacher you take the other side, and then you have a debate.
Okay. What do you suggest in case... also, don't they need to learn some grammar? How is it important in them being engaged in learning structures? Well, obviously grammar is still important, but you need to offset it perhaps with topics which might be more of a personal interest. So say to them, okay, so first of all, let's do something which I know you'll be interested in, but then you'll say, okay, but now we need to do a grammar structure. But generally grammar structures don't take as long to go through. It might be a quicker thing to explain or to learn. So then you can do it quickly and go through it quickly and efficiently, and then move back to something that they're more interested in.
What do you do if a student gets bored in class? Well, if you're going for a certain topic and it's clearly boring and disengaging for the student, then maybe it's not a good idea to force continuing that topic and move on. But if you've done what Michael suggested earlier and finding out their interests and what they're passionate about at the beginning, then you should be able to hone in more on topics that they are interested in, and this shouldn't really happen very often.
Aral has said, in terms of a 1 hour class, would you suggest approaching grammar at the beginning, at the middle, or at the end of the class? Again, I think it's really down to the teacher and how they feel the hour is being spent with the student. I don't think there is a right or wrong way. I think you have to gauge it on the student's interest, as tricky as that is. I know it's a vague answer, but I think you have to, like with a lot of the teenage students, you have to just kind of suss it out. I would perhaps try and balance maybe every 2 personal activities of interest with grammar or something like this, and see how that works out.
I would think doing grammar at the beginning of a class is good. I mean, that's what I tend to do anyway with adult students. That way that you introduce these grammar rules, and then when you're going through other activities like topics or a new vocabulary exercise or whatever, then you can reuse those grammar rules, and you can get extra time to practice them in a real life context rather than just going through a list.
That's a good idea. What do you suggest is a good idea for a lesson for a teen that you have never met and you don't know what they are interested in? Well, hopefully you wouldn't be in that case. But having said that, with experience from teaching other teenagers, you can probably gauge which activities have been popular with the other students in previous classes. And you probably know, okay, well, these ones are generally good, these ones have gone down well with other students, these are the ones that I could go in and work with.
Also, there's nothing stopping you from asking them there and then in the lesson. Maybe you've only got 1 hour with them, but you can quickly go through, okay, what are some of the things you like, blah, 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 blah. And in 5 minutes you can get a pretty good idea of what their hobbies are or how they like to spend their free time. So then you can use that material.
And the last one is, do you recommend any sort of reward system for behavior, such as, oh, I missed the last bit of that question. Such as you might use with younger students? I don't see the problem with it. I don't see why not. What do you think?
I think it would work. Yeah, I mean, we say with adults that you should still do the positive reinforcement ideas. You know, saying well done and praising them and all those kind of things. So I think that applies to teenagers as well as adults as well as children. Yes.
Great. Okay.
And also, can these tips be transferred to classes with adults? Absolutely, I think so. The simple answer for that.
One more has just come in. Grammar shouldn't be underestimated. Actually, we often assume that they know basics. Don't assume. Cover structure always in classes. Great presentation. Oh, okay. Thanks, Ben.
Nice one.
That's goodbye from both of us.
Bye bye.
Thanks for tuning in.